Alright, you guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. It is your boy Tornadoes Man, and I am back with another video. Now, this is the hurricane that Puerto Rico has forgotten about. Now, mind you, nobody, and I mean nobody, forgot what Hurricane Katrina did in 2005, but they chose to forget on what happened from September 16, 2017 to October 2nd, 2017, and her name is Hurricane Maria. And the reason why I bring this hurricane up, because that same girl was my ex years ago in elementary school, but her name got named a hurricane because all the other M names had already happened from the past seasons. Maria was a Category 5 major hurricane with 175 miles per hour. Fatalities was 3,059, and the damage toll was $91.6 billion. Areas affected was Leslie, Dominica, U.S., Virginian Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and some other islands, and the Bahamas. Also in southeastern United States was the mid-Atlantic states. So I won't be reading this today. My AI voice on my Chromebook will. Here we go.
Hurricane Maria was an extremely powerful and devastating tropical cyclone that affected the northeastern Caribbean in September 2017, particularly in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico, which accounted for 2,975 of the 3,059 deaths. Note, too, it is the deadliest and costliest hurricane to strike the island of Puerto Rico, and is the deadliest hurricane to strike the country of Dominica and the territory of the U.S. Virgin Islands. The most intense tropical cyclone worldwide in 2017, Maria was the 13th named storm, 8th consecutive hurricane, 4th major hurricane, 2nd Category 5 hurricane, and deadliest storm of the extremely active 2017 Atlantic hurricane season. With over 3,000 deaths and a minimum central pressure of 908 millibars, 26.8 in G, Maria was both the deadliest Atlantic hurricane since June in 2004, and the 11th most intense Atlantic hurricane on record, respectively. Total monetary losses are estimated at upwards of $91.61 billion, 2017 United States dollars, almost all of which came from Puerto Rico, ranking it as the 4th costliest tropical cyclone on record. Maria developed from a tropical wave on September 16th east of Los Antilles. Steady strengthening and organization took place initially, until favorable conditions enabled it to undergo explosive intensification on the afternoon of September 18th, achieving Category 5 strength just before making landfall on the island of Dominica that night. After crossing the island and weakening slightly, Maria re-intensified and achieved its peak intensity with maximum sustained winds of 175 miles per hour, 280 kilometers per hour, and a pressure of 908 millibars (HPA), 26.81 in G. On September 20th, an island replacement cyclone weakened Maria to a high-end Category 4 hurricane by the time it struck Puerto Rico. The hurricane re-emerged weaker from land interaction, but quickly restrengthened back into a major hurricane again the following day. Passing north of the Bahamas, Maria remained a powerful hurricane over the following week as it slowly paralleled the east coast of the United States, gradually weakening over time as conditions became less favorable. Maria then stalled and swung eastward over the open Atlantic, becoming extratropical on September 30th before dissipating by October 2nd. Maria brought catastrophic devastation to the entirety of Dominica, destroying housing stock and infrastructure beyond repair, and practically eradicating the island's lush vegetation. The neighboring islands of Guadeloupe and Martinique endured widespread flooding, damaged roofs, and uprooted trees. Puerto Rico suffered catastrophic damage and a major humanitarian crisis. Most of the island's population suffered from flooding and a lack of resources, compounded by a slow relief process. The storm caused the worst electrical blackout in U.S. history, which persisted for several months. 3 Maria also landed in the northeast Caribbean during relief efforts from another Category 5 hurricane, Irma, which crossed the region 2 weeks prior. The total death toll is 3,059, an estimated waters flooded the rivers, and its scenic bridge was broken. 79. Overall, the hurricane damaged the roofs of as much as 98% of the island's buildings. 73, including those serving as shelters. 71, half of the houses had their frames destroyed. 73, its ferocious winds defoliated nearly all vegetation, splintering or uprooting thousands of trees and decimating the island's lush rainforests. 80, the agricultural sector, a vital source of income for the country, was completely wiped out. 100% of banana and sugar plantations was lost, as well as vast amounts